What is up, everyone? So I just came from another session for myself, and before that I had a client and we spoke about training and different ways of training that are available to the public and the different routes that most people choose when training. So I wanted to discuss why it is beneficial to train like an athlete even though you are not competing in professional or competitive sport. So I want to list the few ways that you can choose, that most people choose to train when they finish high school sports, or maybe when they get a bit older and they don't play sports anymore at school. One option that most people take is you go to the gym and you just become a person that just goes for aesthetics, just goes to look good, and basically you train like a soft bodybuilder, let's just say something like that. You train the same way as a bodybuilder, but maybe just less steroids and less heavy focus on what you're eating. And essentially that's how most people train. You'll get people who take the powerlifting route, who focus on strength, and then you'll get the people who will probably just become runners and solely runners. And then you get CrossFit. This is how our discussion started, and I think CrossFit became this thing where it gamified fitness. You had many aspects of fitness outside of just looking good. You had fitness that was mixed with goals, and definitely you had a skill aspect with the side of gymnastics, and you had a bit of running, so everything was mixed. I think the main reason why this attracted a lot of people with CrossFit is because it's very similar to competing or training for sport. There's something about a skill that you need to master, and there's something that you need to get better for. You need to essentially use the training that you do day to day to get better for something other than looking good. And the reason I made this video is not to promote CrossFit, but to talk about why training like an athlete, even though you're not doing any formal competitions, is a good idea. Reason number one is it makes training so much better when you have more goals than just looking good. When I say looking good, I mean looking at yourself in the mirror and wanting to look better. It's a very, very tedious goal to have because it can fluctuate day to day. Yesterday I ate maybe 3 bagels for breakfast, and before I slept I had a lot of water, and now I look at myself in the mirror the next day and I am bloated and I don't look as good anymore, and there goes all my progress. And it's such a terrible way to get yourself motivated for the gym. Honestly, this is still my opinion. There's a lot of people that go solely for this, but I think this is for most of the people that I've trained as well. This is a really terrible way to keep yourself motivated in the gym. When you're trying to go to the gym and the only reason that you're there is to look better, and looking better is so subjective and it fluctuates from day to day, it can become really hard to stay motivated. When you train like an athlete, there are so many other metrics that you judge yourself by. Are you getting stronger? Are you getting faster? Do you feel better? Are you feeling faster? Are you feeling like when you play recreational sports with your friends, when you play paddle, tennis, or football on a weekend with your friends, do you feel better? Are you fitter? There's so much more ways that you can objectively measure your progress other than looking good. And even when you're training like this, you'll be training hard and you'll be more motivated and more consistent, and therefore you might even look better. You get a lot of people that focus so hard on looking better, and only that they sacrifice their ability to move well outside in life, plus they don't even look that good because they're not full-time bodybuilders. So what's the point? Number 2, when you train like an athlete, I do want to include that I also mean even though that you are not competing in professional or competitive sport, I still mean that a big part of training like an athlete means still playing some type of sport. And I definitely mean recreationally. So that counts for fives, football, it counts for touch rugby, it counts for paddle, it counts for spike ball, but it counts for playing. And playing keeps you young. I'm going to use my dad as an example for this. My dad is over 60 years old. He still plays touch rugby to this day. Some would say even still competitively. But up until this day, he still manages to keep up with so many people. And it's not because he's doing something magical. It's not because it's magic genetics. And I honestly think it's just because he never stopped playing. And when you play, you keep yourself young. And that essentially should be the goal of training, is to stay young. No one just wakes up at 30 years old and says, oh my word, 2 years ago I could just run and play fives with my friends, now I can't anymore. No, it's the lack of playing that got you to that position. You stopped playing sport. Everyone was forced to play sport kind of at school. You had to choose a sport, most kids. And then you played sport, and that's why you could always just go and play whenever you wanted. But when you don't use it, you lose it, unfortunately. And that is why playing is almost like it keeps you young. And honestly, you can look at so many people that still play recreational sport. This is how they stay young. Playing sport is so much more chaotic and I think more intensive for your body than any type of training or stationary gym work could ever be for you. It challenges your coordination, challenges your reaction, and then it challenges your entire body to be able to handle the forces and everything around you at the same time. That will keep you young. So that is another benefit, staying young through play. And that is why I think it's so beneficial. And not only that, instead of taking your 10,000 steps that every bodybuilder or every fitness influencer is telling you to take, why not just go and find a sport that you like? The one day my girlfriend invited me to play tennis with her, and instead of going out and doing 10,000 stupid steps that honestly, all I'm doing is just waiting for the time to go by, I probably covered like 15,000 steps easily while playing tennis for like 50 minutes. It was way more fun. There was actually a skill involved. It's way more social than just having my earphones on and going into dark mode. It's so much more fun than just doing your thing. So find a sport. It helps you stick to actually being active and fit and not only keep you young. Number 3 is the sprinting and fast aspects. So when we talk about fast twitch stuff, they talk a lot about, I've seen Joel from Just Fly Sports talk about this a lot. And honestly, if I had to think about my dad, it's very similar as well, because my dad still does sprints still this day at his age. And honestly, you'll see it in a lot of people, but fast twitch is the fountain of youth. We talk about staying young. I have a lot of friends of mine who see some of the training that I do and the jumps. They're 2-3 years older than me, and they look at the jumps I do, and the first thing they say is, my knees would never be able to do that. My knees just hurt looking at that. You know, and it's a jump. It's literally a jump. And it's like, no, again, just like the sports, you didn't wake up one day and you couldn't jump anymore. You're 28, you should still be able to jump. It's because you don't jump anymore. This is an ability. Your tendons, if you don't use it, you lose it. The structure, the strength, everything of your tendons will stay and maybe even get stronger. Maybe over time when you get really older, they will weaken slightly, but you can slow down that progress immensely by just staying in a training environment that is still athletic and dynamic in essence. So that is why it's important to stay doing fast things. Don't let your entire training become slow things. Most people only ever jog. That's maybe the fastest thing that you do. But as soon as you do faster things, the load becomes so much more intense. The load on your body. And that is why your body stays strong. So yes, some people might say sprinting is really bad. It could hurt something. Yeah, if you never do sprinting and then all of a sudden sprint, you might get hurt. But essentially that is why you need to stay sprinting. That is why you need to stay jumping and do athletic things. One day, most people only realize this maybe when they get kids, and they're like, oh crap, I'm trying to jump with my kid, and I can't. And that's because you just stopped for 10 years. So there's so many benefits to training like an athlete. Essentially, even if you're not competing in professional or really competitive sports, it really doesn't matter. Find a sport that you like, stay sprinting, stay jumping, lift heavy weights, jog outside, and it just makes training so much more fun and sustainable. And you can still look good while doing it, and it will still help you improve your body composition. Where a lot of people choose one side and ditch the others, you can have all of it. Especially if you're someone who really doesn't want to just sit in the gym and do exercises you don't want to do in a room where there's nothing other than just looking at yourself in a mirror and seeing if you look better or if you've got a bicep pain. Training doesn't have to become that shit after you stop playing sport after high school. You can keep on training like that, and it's way more fun, way more sustainable, and you'll thank yourself later. That's all I have for today.